After building a ton of vampire crab paludariums, I've been wanting to try something a little bit different lately, so I picked up two brand new nano tanks, a Sinkor SideFix 7 litre and a Sinkor SideFix 10 litre. These are two completely different style tanks, but I have a couple of pretty cool ideas planned for each. Both these tanks come in a set with an opti-white glass tank and a light that comes with a nice little base plate as well. The lights are fully app controlled and come with plenty of different options, which we'll take a look at a little later in the video. But for now, we'll build a nice little minimalist style aquascape in the 7 litre version, because it's been a very long time since I've worked in a tiny space just like this one. Setting everything up is super simple. Just grab the base and slip the light onto the little stud and adjust the height as you desire. Once you have it in position, you can tighten the little Allen key to lock everything in place. Even though you've locked it all in place, you can still move it around quite a bit as it has a few different positions you can play with. When I originally placed the order for these tanks, I had quite a few different ideas in mind, so I grabbed a few different hardscape options. I've got a couple of bags of Sirius stone bits here, as well as some bigger pieces from my own collection, and a couple of big bags of spiderwood, as well as one really awesome Hygrophila Pinnatifida plant. Finally, I'm going to be using Yakuchi Jibon aqua soil for this. I don't know how common this soil is outside of Europe, but I've been using it for a lot of aquascapes and it does a really good job of growing plants and seems to last quite a long time. After adding a little bit of aqua soil to the base of the tank, I decided to go with one of my biggest, most detailed pieces of Sirius stone first. My original plan was originally to make a nice little rock base, then build a wood structure with the spider wood, and then add some small pieces of Pinnatifida scattered across the woodscape. But looking at this amazing piece of Pinnatifida, it basically looks like a fully grown tree already, so I'm just going to plant the entire thing in the middle of the scape, just like a grand tree would be standing in the middle of an empty field. It took a little bit of figuring out, but I managed to hide the rock wool base behind some expertly placed stones. The best piece of advice I can give you for building something like this is to always have more stone than you think you'll need, because there's nothing worse than not having the right piece and some options to play with if you get stuck. Now that I've got the core of the aquascape done, the plan is to get a nice little Monte Carlo carpet growing in the foreground, as well as the back and pretty much everywhere else. Interestingly, there is a myth in the aquascaping hobby that says you need CO2 to grow Monte Carlo. That's completely false. As long as you have some good aqua soil and a good light, you can easily grow Monte Carlo without any CO2. It just grows a little bit slower. And as usual, to make life easy, I'm going to be using a dry start method for this tank, and the main reason for that is because I use quite a shallow aqua soil base, and it's going to be tricky to plant the Monte Carlo into this small amount of space as well. So using the dry start method, I can just cut it into small pieces and sprinkle it across the surface of the aqua soil, where it will eventually take hold and grow a nice, complete carpet. Once you've managed to get your Monte Carlo into the scape, all you need to do is give it a nice little spray with some water to push it into the soil. Once it has a nice amount of contact, it will start to root pretty quickly, usually within a couple of weeks. But normally I still like to wait 6 to 8 weeks for this process to complete properly. And the only requirement during this time is to make sure you have the tank covered with the lid or just wrap it in some cling wrap. It's also important not to mist it too much because you don't want the water building up too much in the bottom, so just pay close attention to how things are growing and don't let it dry out too much.
The light app is super simple and has all of the basics you need to automate your tank. Simply connect the light, open the app, then tap the plus icon. The light will automatically be detected, then you just have to jump through the hoops and connect it. Once you've done that, just tap on the light in the list and adjust the brightness manually, or set up a schedule using the dots in the top right hand corner. Again, just set the time as you want it to turn on, along with the days and the maximum brightness you want to use, then repeat the exact same process for your off timer. I've got a ton of Sinkor lights here at the moment, so I also have a smart profile set up for this, and that gets all of the lights that I want to follow the same wake up and turn off schedule. Inside of this tab you can set up your ramp up and ramp down options and add the lights you want to follow those settings. I currently have 9 lights that turn on at 10 AM and shut off at 7 PM, with a ramp up and ramp down timer on both of those settings. I also have one Sinkor Optima light on my Exo Terra with full color control options, but for now we'll just skip that and see how the tank's going after about 2 weeks of dry start. As you can see, the pinnature feeder has already grown out and above the tank and didn't waste any time in taking off. But we're still about 5 to 6 weeks away for the Monte Carlo to start rooting properly, but it's doing pretty good so far. And now for the most important part, what should I stock this tank with? Maybe some shrimp or snails, or do you think it's a little bit too small? And if you haven't already seen it yet, make sure you check out the build I made in the Sinkor 10 litre version, because it's one of the most unique builds I've made on this channel, and definitely one of my favourites in a very long time.